What we are going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take a look at our caution sign. Every one of the machines in this shop have a caution sign. So you need to pay attention to all these that are listed on there. That is not a complete inventory of the cautions that you need to be aware of, but it's a good start. So this is you getting familiarized with your machine. If you notice, it's on the back side, and there's some here for all the drill presses. So you will find a caution label on every machine. So we're going to start a visual inspection of the drill press. The first thing that we want to do is check the electrical cord. We want to make sure that it's not dried or there's no cuts or frayed. You want to make sure that the plug is complete and safe, and make sure that it's ready to go into operation. You want to make sure that the track down here for our table is not obstructed. Because if we have to move the table up and down, you can see the track actually coming up on the column a little bit here. If we have to move the table up and down, we want to make sure that there's nothing obstructing it, so that'll stop our operation and we've got to fix it. Well, we want to check the column 4 to make sure that it's got a little bit of light grease on it so it moves correctly. The table, I'll get to the other side and we'll move it up and down just to make sure it's operational. We want to make sure that we have a vise. You will not operate this machine without your piece of material being in a vise. You will not hand hold any piece of material, because if it gets out of your grasp and this thing's turning at a certain speed, you can cut your hand bad. So the vise always stays here ready for operation, so you could use that to cut. One of the things that we have on the vise is a handle to tighten it up. If you are not using it at the time, you will take the handle, turn it inside out, and that'll stop if somebody comes walking by and they knock into it. If you notice, right here, there's a slot in the vise. This is where the drill lines up, so if it goes through your metal, it doesn't drill out my vise like these have been. So the metal needs to go right in this slot so it goes through, if you're going through completely through the material. On this machine, we have a holder or a clamp that is available, but this clamp goes only in this area, so it's just stable right here. Sometimes that does not help. What we can use, if we don't have any other clamp to put it on, we have a C-clamp. The C-clamp is either going to hold your vise on if you're going to be doing multiple pieces that you're drilling, or it could hold the piece on if we get it lined up correctly with our T-slots, which are located right here. When we are drilling, you are authorized to hold the vise in the position that you want. If you know that you are going to need a clamp or anything like that, we could see the best way to position the vise to put a clamp on it. Today is just an example, and I will be drilling holding the drill press. Okay. So this slot right here is an access piece to your drill press. The access piece, when you have a large drill bit, the tang, remember we talked about the tang, goes up into this piece, and half of the tang at the end fits in there, and we have what a drift pin. Let me see, there should be a drift pin on here. I don't see a drift pin, but I'll get an example of one. The drift pin goes in there, and it takes that drill bit out by pushing the tang out. This right here controls your on-off. This is your on-off switch. This on-off switch is only, of course, when you activate it and you're ready to drill. This controls the speed. The speed will not be changed unless the machine is on. You do not change the speed when it is off. Inside here is gears, and if you try to change it when it's off, you'll break these gears. This one we had to take apart and make new gears because somebody decided to change the speed when it was off. This portion here controls the depth of your drill. So if you're only going a certain depth, there's a couple ways that we could look at to mark your depth. One is to put a piece of tape on your drill twist, and you go down to the top of the tape, and that's your depth. So you measure it with a ruler, and you put the tape on. The second one is to adjust. Okay, so you would adjust the height with this bolt here. It doesn't have to be completely tight. It can be hand tightened. And what it does is when you press the drill down, it'll stop at a certain measurement. If you only want 1 inch, you put the drill on the top side of the metal, and I'll show you that in a minute, right? And then you measure 1 inch or 1.5 inch. Put your stop right here, and what it does, it stops right where it's supposed to. Controlling your feed is done by this handle here. That's your feed. The drill chuck. The drill chuck holds the drill. One of the things that we have to tighten the drill chuck is called a chuck key. That is not the correct way to leave your chuck key. If your chuck key's in there, that's a safety violation. If you take a look at this, the chuck key is on a wire that's attached to the machine. You use it and you put it down. One of the things we need to talk about is the speed of the drill bit. On this machine, what's turning is how you judge the speed. There are different shop mathematics that we will use if we get in, when we get into CAM, but this is what we're using for this. For steel, you want to use 80 to 200 RPMs. Steel is a lot slower because of the density, of course, of the metal, and it's just better so your drill bit so it doesn't get completely burned out. Aluminum, you will use between 200 and 400 RPMs. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't adjust it if we're doing the material and you think that it needs to go a little faster. What we have to do first is we're going to go ahead and put our drill bit in. So the chuck key works by hand, and you want to be careful not to touch the lands of your drill bit because they can cut you. So what you want to do is hold it usually on your just below the body. You're going to place the drill bit up in the chuck, making sure that it's in there correctly, and you're going to take the chuck key, tighten it up. What we have at the top of the dial that does the speed, there's an arrow right here, and it points to different speeds. This one right here is 375, 600, or 760. So that gives you the opportunity to change it to different speeds. So we're going to go ahead and keep on the lower speeds, and we will not change the into the higher speeds because there's no need to at this point. Okay, I'm going to go around the machine and I will plug it in and get ready to go.